chose to come back again in Maurice again this year?
What we did find was that it really is the one opportunity for us to showcase all the different channels and all the different content that we have on DSTV and GoTV to journalists from across Africa. So for the channels to travel from one country to another would take, when we have 50 countries, if we've only got our 10 best countries here, would be impossible. It would take them all years. So, and Mauritius is just a fabulous place to do it because fantastic hotels, great weather,
and the hospitality here is exceptional. You know, a lot of us have travelled here, coming here on holidays, and the event like this is no different.
No.
Nothing is too much effort for the local Mauritians.
So, and what we do is we then expose the journalists that we brought here to different pieces of content that they might not have discovered on the bouquet before, and also just to understand a little bit of the thinking behind some of the content. So it's really just what drives a certain program, how does it manifest itself in other parts of the world, why are they putting that particular program. So it's really about talking about what we do, which is content.
Have you been able to measure the impact of last year's experience? Did you get more subscribers? Were people more interested from
It's impossible to measure that, but I mean what we can measure is the level of understanding of journalists about firstly our business and the understanding about our content and how that works and how we make content decisions. And so it's really giving the journalists an opportunity to ask the business what we're about.
Mauritius is 1.3 million. Our culture is of course African, but mainly European and Asian. How does MultiChoice, how does DSTV cater for a market as quirky as ours?
It is generally difficult. We are predominantly an English medium platform. We don't always cater for everybody's needs, but what we try and do is we try and have add-ons. So for example, we have an Indian add-on, an Indian bouquet add-on, we have a Portuguese add-on, we have a French add-on, and we try to use those mediums to try and cater for the different cultural groups. Of course, if any of the programming that we have in the rest of Africa in specific language groups resonates with people from, for example, Nigeria that happen to be located in Mauritius, they get the benefit. But the most of the platform is kind of English centric, if I can put it that way.
Anglophone is the biggest language, English, that's the biggest language, it's the biggest market as well. So we will start with that, and then yes, as we start seeing demand coming through, we will be creating in other languages. Very much in the future though.
Won't be a French channel of Z.
There is a French channel of Z coming up before end of this year. So similar to Z World, there is a French one coming up.
How do you compromise with the fact that you need to cater for the masses, but also for markets that are very specific like Mauritius, which are neither African nor really Indian?
So if like with the new channel that's coming up, it's not just for the Mauritius, but it's also for Francophone Africa, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, Gabon. So we've got the one channel that will go across all countries, and a lot of the dubbing is being done in Mauritius, along with some in South Africa as well for the French countries. So you'll have a mix, so it caters to everyone.
When it comes to a series, all ZTV programs are 30-minute episodes. So usually you have scenes that are dragging, scenes that the storyline is just pulling. It could be a week and nothing's happened. We have scenes like a child fell down and there'll be 10 reaction shots before someone picks up that child. So we decided to cut it down, and we thought, okay, 2 reactions, someone please pick up this child. We have directors who sit there and they edit these 3 1.5-hour episode into a 1-hour episode that you see. So when you're sitting there, the story is just fast-paced and moving. We also changed the Hindi names of these programs. Like Lali is the character's name. The original name is Agle Jana Mohe Bitya Hi Ki Jo. It's a mouthful for me, and I speak Hindi.
Thank God for adjustment, right?
You mentioned that you are in the process of renewing your business model as well as your pricing structure. So where does Mauritius fit in this strategy? What does it imply for our market?
What I was trying to explain is that we are constantly reviewing the business model. right? And we're constantly reviewing pricing. It's not something that we do in isolation. What we do is we look at business models around the world. We have selected a particular business model for the MultiChoice business. That business model being a bouquet structure, starting at premium, where you get everything, and then kind of tiering down to a more affordable, generally kind of round about the $10 price point at the bottom. As we look at our pricing options, as we look at how markets are changing and how consumer behavior is changing, that is what's driving a review of the business models. And the business models doesn't mean that we're going to change, for example, the bouquet structure. It may be a change to how we do billing, how we segment it. For example, if you go into the telcos offer very small bite-sized pieces of a subscription every month. So, and the consumers have responded very well to that across the African continent. So, buying much smaller but much more frequently. So, we obviously are in the background thinking about our business model and saying, is that something that is appropriate? Is it something? And of course, there's lots of complications. For a consumer, we try to make it seamless, but of course, you've got rights issues. So rights holders have got certain agreements, and they're structured in particular ways in terms of how you can show your content. So there's many things that we need to look at. It's way too early to say what the impact might be on a Mauritian market or anyone else on the continent. What is very likely, though, is that if we start to change the model, it's something that we are likely to adopt. We may test it in certain markets if we decide to test that, but we would generally roll out the model across the whole continent and be typically homogeneous. So Mauritius would form part of whatever decisions get made on that regard.
What can we expect in the future in terms of innovation, technological innovation?
If you look at some of the international markets, there the movement has shifted in a completely different direction. So in China at the moment, as you walk around from one suburb to another, from through business districts, through home areas, Wi-Fi is something that you just pick up on the move. Now, the minute you get a very good high-speed Wi-Fi connection, you can then start to consume content, long-form content, on the move as well. And so now your mobile apps become, significantly more appropriate in those markets. Guys running around using their phones as video content devices is significantly higher penetration in, for example, China than what it is on the African continent. But if you look at how fast the mobile devices have grown on the African continent, we'd be stupid to think that this isn't something that consumers would like to be able to do. Especially when you take into account that in many of our countries, a consumer will spend 2 to 3 hours a day traveling in each direction. So that's a lot of time to be sitting in a car or sitting in a cab, sitting in one of those minibus taxis, commuting to and from home. And obviously, if you have a good Wi-Fi signal or you have an ability to be able to watch long-form video, that's something that I think has attraction, but it has its limitations. I think we're still at an early stage on the African continent to find a way to be able to do that at an affordable price, because as you know, data costs quite a lot of money.